Your hands are sweating inside your gloves. Not because of the game. You've called thousands of games. You don't get nervous anymore. But tonight is different. Tonight, the envelope is already in your bag. You put it there yourself this morning before your coffee went cold. $9,400 in cash from a guy whose name you don't know and whose face you've already started to forget. The crowd above you is 19,000 people. They came here believing the outcome isn't decided yet. You know something they don't. You walk up the tunnel, whistle in your hand, and you think about your daughter's hospital bills. You think about the number Tommy gave you. You think about what happens if you don't call the game right. Not right as in fair, right as in exactly the way they told you. And the buzzer sounds. And it's time. Rewind 18 months. You're not a criminal. You need to understand that first. You're a guy who coaches Little League on Saturdays and drives a Ford Explorer with 140,000 miles on it. You have a daughter named Caitlin, who is 9 years old and was diagnosed with a rare autoimmune condition when she was 6. The bills started small, then they compounded. Then your insurance company sent you a letter that used the phrase, "not covered under your current plan," so many times you stopped counting. You've been officiating in the NBA for 11 years. You make decent money, not enough money. Not, "my kid needs experimental treatment that insurance won't touch" money. You refinanced the house once. Then you borrowed against your 401k. Then you called your brother, who said he'd help and didn't. You called your parents, who helped as much as they could, which wasn't much. This is the part people skip over when they judge you. The part where there was no good option, only bad ones and worse ones. You meet Tommy Briggs at a retirement party for another ref, a guy you'd worked with for 8 years named Phil Costas. Tommy is Phil's cousin. He's friendly. He knows about basketball. He buys you 2 drinks and asks about your daughter in a way that feels genuine. You don't think anything of it. You should have. 3 weeks later, Tommy calls you. He says he has a friend who might be able to help with Caitlin's bills. He says this friend has resources. He says nobody needs to know anything and nothing needs to be a big deal. You say you're not interested. He says he figured. Then he calls back 4 days later and says the offer is $15,000 for 1 game. 1 call, 1 foul at the right moment. You say you'll think about it. You don't sleep for 2 nights. On the 3rd night, Caitlin has a flare-up bad enough that you drive her to the emergency room at 2 a.m. You sit in the waiting room for 4 hours. The bill arrives 6 weeks later. You call Tommy. The first game is a regular season matchup in late January. Nothing that matters in the standings. A home team that's already locked in their playoff seed against a visitor that's already eliminated. Tommy told you this specifically. Start with something that doesn't mean anything, he said. Train yourself. You tell yourself that's the smart way to think about it. You tell yourself the game doesn't matter. You tell yourself a foul called a half-second earlier or later isn't really changing anything. The instruction is simple. In the 3rd quarter, you call a blocking foul on the home team's center. It needs to happen in a specific window, between the 6-minute and 4-minute mark, so the point spread closes at the number it needs to hit. You know the spread. Tommy told you visitors plus 6.5. The center is a 28-year-old kid from Georgia named Marcus Webb. He has a wife and a newborn and a career that's finally getting some traction after 3 years on the bubble. When you call the foul on him, it's his 4th. He spends the next 4 minutes on the bench, biting his thumbnail, watching his teammates play short. You feel sick, but you blow the whistle. You point at Marcus. You call it. The home team ends up losing by 8. The visitors cover. Somewhere money moves through channels you'll never see. That night, you find a plain envelope in your car. You left it unlocked in the parking garage like Tommy said. $14,200, not the full amount. Tommy said there's a handling fee. You sit in that parking garage for 22 minutes before you can drive home. You keep the $14,200. You pay Caitlin's outstanding hospital balance. It's not over. Tommy calls 3 weeks later. He says his friend was happy with your work. He says there's another opportunity. He says this one pays better. You say no. He pauses. Then he says very quietly, "You understand we have records of the first game, right? Betting records. Your name attached." You say no now, and those records get uncomfortable for you. This is the moment people ask about. This is the part where you should have called a lawyer or the FBI or your union rep. You don't call any of them. You say yes. Over the next 7 months, you fix 4 more games, then 6 more after that. Tommy stops calling. Now it's a man named Vincent who texts you from rotating numbers and speaks in a cadence so calm and flat, it's more frightening than any threat you've ever heard. Vincent doesn't threaten. He just states things. He says things like, Game 6, second quarter, three-pointer attempt by number 11 needs to result in a foul call before the 7-minute mark. You learn the vocabulary of what you're doing. You learn that the fix isn't always about point spread. Sometimes it's about props, individual player stats. Sometimes it's about whether a team covers in the second half only. You're being used surgically. You're one instrument in a larger machine. You start to understand how big this machine is. There are nights when you stand at center court during a timeout, crowd noise crashing over you like water, and you look at the coaches on the sideline who believe in the integrity of what they're doing. You look at the players who played 12 months of basketball to be here. You look at the tens of thousands of people who bought tickets, who drove in from 3 hours away, who brought their kids, and you are the thing standing between them and the real game. Nobody tells you how undramatic it actually is once you're inside it. That's the part that gets you. You call a foul that shouldn't be called, you call the next possession, you call the next one after that, and the game flows forward like it always has. Nobody runs onto the court. The replay booth doesn't flag it. Your partners on the crew look at you and don't see anything. You carry it yourself. By game 8, you have a system. You rehearse the call in your head before you make it. You identify the moment in advance. You get your body positioned so the angle makes it defensible if anyone reviews it. You're good at this now. That's the part that should scare you. The money is $18,000 per game now. It goes through a shell company Vincent set up, a consulting arrangement for a sports analytics firm that doesn't exist. Caitlin is stable. Her treatment is working. You refinance the house back to a normal rate. You even put a little away. You don't feel anything. The 10th game is a playoff series. First round, game 3. The stakes are real stakes now. This isn't regular season filler. This is a team playing for their season, a coach who's been in the league for 20 years, and is one series win away from his first finals appearance. His name is Ray DeLuca, 61 years old, played 4 years in the league in the 80s, been coaching since 1994. The fix requires your crew to allow a player on the opposing team to stay in the game despite 2 plays that should have resulted in technical fouls. Without those technicals, the game stays close enough for the spread to land. Ray's team loses by 3. You see him in the tunnel afterward. He's walking the other direction and doesn't look up. You keep moving. That night you sit in your hotel room and you watch the post-game press conference on your laptop. A reporter asks Ray if there were any calls that frustrated him. Ray looks at the camera for a long moment. "Officiating is what it is," he says. "My guys know how to compete." He's protecting his players. He doesn't want to make excuses. He believes in the system. You close the laptop. You find out about the investigation the way you find out about everything that's about to end your life. Secondhand. Too late. A ref you know, not on your crew, a guy you see at training camps, mentions over dinner that he heard something about a DOJ subpoena, something about offshore betting patterns, something about officials. You nod. You say you haven't heard anything. Your hands are steady because you have got very good at making your hands stay steady. That night you text the number Vincent uses. No response? You try 2 more numbers from the rotation. Nothing. You check the news on your phone for 40 minutes before. You fall asleep at 3 a.m. The next morning, Vincent reaches out. He says, "Stay calm. You don't know anyone. You've never met anyone. You keep working. You have a game in 4 days." This is the game where it falls apart. The instructions come in that morning. Routine. A foul call in the fourth quarter, specific player, specific window. You know the drill. You've done this 14 times. But there's a new addition to your crew for this game, a supervisor from the league office doing a standard performance review. He's one of 3 people in the league you've been afraid of running into since this started. He's sharp, he watches every call, and he sits 6 feet from the court with a tablet and a headset. You almost call in sick. You don't. Vincent told you to keep working. Fourth quarter, the moment arrives. Number 11 drives the lane. The call is yours. You blow the whistle, and the supervisor looks up from his tablet. He rewinds the play on his tablet. He watches it. He watches it again. After the game, in the tunnel, he stops you. "Walk me through that call," he says. You walk him through it. You're composed. You have your explanation ready. The angle, the positioning, the interpretation of the contact. He listens. He nods. He says, "Okay, just wanted to understand it. Good work tonight." He walks away. You stand in that tunnel for a full minute before your legs remember how to work. That night, you make a decision. You walk into the FBI field office on a Tuesday morning in April. You tell the woman at the front desk you want to speak to someone in the Public Corruption Division. You tell her it's about professional sports. She looks at you for a moment. Name? You give it. You cooperate. You give them Vincent's numbers, the shell company, the game logs you quietly kept on a personal device you never connected to your home network, a habit you started in month 3 without knowing exactly why. Maybe you always knew this was coming. The investigation is bigger than you. Of course it is. You were never the center of this. You were a gear. The machine has other gears, 2 other officials in different leagues, a former team physician who provided insider injury information, 3 sports analysts with media credentials who were feeding picks to international betting syndicates. Vincent's real name, you learn, is not Vincent. He's connected to a crime family out of Philadelphia, with roots in the old Atlantic City casino networks. The FBI has been working the outer edge of this case for 3 years before you walked in. You are given a cooperation agreement. You testify. You name names, dates, games. Your attorney negotiates. You avoid prison, barely. You lose your officiating license permanently. You pay a fine that wipes out nearly everything you saved. The league releases a statement calling it a grave breach of trust. 3 sports media personalities spend a week debating whether you're a monster or a victim. One columnist writes that you're the human face of systemic corruption. Another writes that sympathy for you is a luxury fans can't afford. They're both right. You've thought about it enough to know that both things can be true at the same time. Caitlin is 11 now. She's in 4th grade. She likes soccer and audiobooks and asking questions about how things work. Her treatment has stabilized her enough that some mornings you can almost forget what paid for it. Almost. You don't referee anymore. You work in insurance claims. It's quiet, boring. Nobody is watching you. Nobody is texting you from rotating numbers. Nobody is leaving envelopes in your car. You watch basketball sometimes? Not often. When you do, you watch the officials. You watch how they position themselves, how they make decisions in real time, with thousands of eyes on them, with careers and seasons and entire organizational histories riding on their calls. You used to be one of the best at that job. You think about Marcus Webb sometimes. You looked him up. He played 3 more seasons after the year you called that first foul. He never made a roster again after that. That probably wasn't your fault. Probably. You'll never know. That's the part nobody prepared you for. Not the guilt, exactly. The not knowing, the way the consequences ripple out past where you can see them and keep going, and you're left standing here at the edge of what you can observe, looking into the dark. Match fixing in professional sports is more widespread than the headlines ever capture. Tim Donaghy, an NBA referee for 13 years, was arrested in 2007 after FBI investigation revealed he had bet on games he officiated and provided information to professional gamblers. He served 15 months in federal prison. The case you just experienced is fictional, but the financial pressures, the debt spiral, the structure of coercive criminal recruitment, and the mechanisms of officiating-based manipulation are drawn from documented cases. If you're the kind of person who makes it to the end of a video like this, you're the kind of person who watches the next one too. The next video's on screen right now.